All right, so let's first just do a sound test.
Okay.
Let me hear your audio.
This is my audio. Is it good?
Keep going.
Um, my name is Bethany. I'm a personal trainer from Pennsylvania. Not really from, but living in Pennsylvania.
Okay, that's all well and good.
Sure is.
Fan diddly tastic. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying, hello, Bet. How are you today? Then you just kind of like tell me about your day. Then I'm gonna ask, what did you eat? I'll kind of like be quirky about it. I'm like, so what did you eat? And then like you can tell me what you ate today. Was it a bad day or was it a? Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll get into that.
Always a good day.
All right. So maybe I'll say
But
something
later.
like that. I'll be like, was it a bad day? Was that a bad question? Be like, it's always a good, just.
Yeah.
Then I'll be like, how about fitness or exercise? That kind of thing. And then I'll ask, what was this week like? So that'll kind of give us the frame of your day to day and your week, because that's like a typical, that'll give us some structure on what happens with you. Then I'll kind of like, then I'll ask, so how would you describe what you currently do? And then that's where you can kind of like, you can say, like I'm a personal trainer and I have this job that is like a personal trainer. And there's lots of different types of personal trainer, whatever you want to say there. And then you can kind of give your piece on what it is you do. Like, are you more psychiatrist, psychologist? Are you more like, a cognitive therapist? I don't know, like whatever it is, just but don't I would say don't create any terms on this as I'm saying
Hmm.
these things. Just go with the things that are within your wheelhouse, the things that you think about pretty much all the time, the frameworks that you're thinking through. We will come into some areas where you're going to be thinking through some things, and that's totally
Hmm.
fine. So like think through those, like vocalize thinking through those, but we won't stay on those probably too long. We want to keep
Okay.
the listeners interested on what your mainstays, your main principles, your main procedures, your main routines, your mains. You know what I mean? Like the mains that you live within. Um, so then I'll ask, what were you doing before this? And you can kind of like go into that. Then I'll ask, how did you get to where you are now? And you can take that from wherever you want. Like so you can give like a longer story, you can give a shorter story, you can
Hmm.
give a shorter story, then a longer story. I can ask some questions, probing questions. Then some stuff about the kidney will come up. I'll ask like, how are you similar to who you were before kidney disease, and how are you different?
Hmm.
Um, uh, then like I'll ask, what have you learned? You know, some of the bullet points I have under there are like, tell us your views on the mind, body, and soul connection. Um, what about the psychology behind fitness? What have you seen the clients that you work with? Why do people avoid good health, or how do you see their behavior? What kinds of people see success versus lack of success, and what they're looking for? What's the difference between those kinds of people? Then I'll ask, and there's a whole conversation. That's a lot of the meat in there. So questions may change, and depending on how we go. But
Hmm.
that's kind of where you're going to get into a lot of your philosophy stuff and how
Yeah.
you see people, how you see the work you do. Then I'll
Man.
ask what's next.
Yeah.
Then I'll ask what's
Well,
next.
there's deep questions, but that's
Huh?
okay.
What is it?
So they're just like deep questions that I wish I had some time to prepare for, but whatever, it comes off, right?
Yeah, it just comes. It'll come off. That's the point of a
Yeah.
podcast. That's how it works. It's just like
Yeah, right.
yeah. And then so then it's what's next. So like you could say like I'm currently doing this blog, so I'm going to continue to develop that. Thinking about what like longer work I might be getting into, whether it's a book or whether it's a YouTube series or whether it's a podcast series or like I don't know, whatever you might be thinking about as far as like next. in terms of like the work you do and the influence you want to have, and thinking about how you can have an impact in that. And then I'll finish up by just saying, well, how can listeners stay connected to you, to your learning and your work? And that's when you could share if you have a Twitter handle, or if you have, like, what your blog website is. Um, what you could just put your email. A lot of times people just straight up with their email. And then if it fits in, I might ask a question like, do you have a day you remember that stands out to you, like one day, like over the course of all this, that you remember that stands out to you? Um, and then I mean, I might drop a bomb, but
I might. All right, we'll see.
do you
If
work
I go outside, it's gonna be too windy.
outside?
Yeah,
Give it a shot. Let's see.
my vibes can flow. Let's see. Oh, I should put on shoes. I keep doing this. I go outside and I burn my feet on the floor. Yeah, in the sun. Yeah. I have a charger stuck on my toe. All right. Is it?
Are you talking to me?
Is it like choppy now or something?
Yeah, we got to just wait for it to get stable. It's like frozen on your end. So you have a place to sit?
Yeah, I'll go sit. There's these benches. Remember those benches that we sat on that one time? Going over there. I hurt my back on July 4th.
We're gonna hear your vehicles passing by and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But
All right, I'll go back in.
no, it's all right. I mean, it's there's a charm to that too, potentially.
Or
No, I mean, I think there is.
yeah,
Go with it. If it makes you comfortable being outside, I say you should be outside.
yeah. Get my vitamin D on.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Sun's in my face. Okay. How is it?
All right. So let you sit down and get stable for a minute, so then I can assess. All right. So give me some talking.
Here's some talking.
All
I'm
right. It's good.
outside. Okay.
Okay. All right. Um, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Hello, Bet. How are you today?
Hello, Matt. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you?
I am in Pennsylvania, staying at our mom's house. Um, enjoying this beautiful weather, you know.
I guess you are outside. I hear cars going by.
Yeah, in this little community that we have here. It's kind of cool, kind of quiet, you
Nice.
know.
So we're recording in both Pennsylvania, Newtown Square, and Memphis, Tennessee. That is the beauty of technology, but that's old hat. So no more commentary on that. Um, what did you eat today?
Well, I started off with a spinach and egg white omelet, a few blackberries, then I had a banana. Then for lunch, I had steamed broccoli with Swiss and walnuts, pear. And then later on, I was still hungry. I was too hungry to wait until dinner, so I had oatmeal. Well, it's really quinoa and flaxseed hot cereal.
So why just a few blackberries? You can't eat like bunches and oodles of blackberries?
I guess you can. The only reason why I eat them is because they're good for you. I really don't like them, you know. But they fight free radicals. They fight against some neurological diseases, stuff like that. So, and they have like a fourth of the percent of the daily value of fiber that you need for the day. So, I mean, I just eat things because I know they're good for my body, not so much that I like them.
How many egg whites are we talking about?
I do 4 egg whites a
Okay, is
day.
that an everyday thing?
Is that what?
An everyday thing?
Well, it depends. I switch up my proteins so that I don't do the same thing every day. It's good to switch up everything, your fruits, your vegetables, your proteins. You never want to stick to the same thing because your body gets used to it, you know. So sometimes I do Greek yogurt, sometimes I do eggs, fish, whatever it is.
So what's the thinking behind switching, like your body not getting used to the proteins or the carbohydrates? What's the thinking behind that?
Um, well, your body is just it can get, in whatever you're doing to it. So if you sit around all the time, it gets used to doing that thing. So it grows accustomed to doing that thing and it turns into that thing. And then so the same thing with eating. If you eat the same thing all the time, your body gets used to that. It has all those things already. So you want to switch it up, you know, to get different vitamins, different whatever your body needs, different proteins, just so that your body responds, you
Okay, so
know.
you want your body to become more reactive. It's more you want to keep it sensitive to whatever inputs you're taking in.
Yeah, and food has like all the different varieties of food. There's so many different things that you can get from all of them. You want to try to get them all in, but you can't do that every day. So you're gonna have to switch it that much food.
In order to be able
I
to
mean,
get all of the variety that you need, you have to switch things up to, on the whole,
yeah,
get all the totality of what you need.
exactly.
So now,
Exactly.
what's your, because you're saying you eat just the things that you need to eat. What's your ratio, would you say, of pleasure eating to, survival eating?
Well, luckily for me, I find that most of the things, fruits and vegetables, are pleasurable. The things that maybe I will stay away from and only do every once in a while, like arugula and things like that are just gross. I will only do them sometimes, but for the most part, I enjoy what I eat. Um, and then if you're talking about real pleasure eating, like I'll have ice cream every once in a while too. That's the one thing that I just feel like there's no need to give up. It's good for you so many ways.
So, how do you do arugula?
Um, I put the last time I ate it, for instance, I made some turkey meatballs, slices of nectarine or pear. One time I did in there, and then I put asparagus and meatballs. Just try to cover up the flavor. Avocado and Yeah, just mix it all up in there and just you can hide it pretty well if you have enough stuff in your mouth.
I don't know why arugula gets such a bad rap. I love arugula,
So
and I eat it
bad.
mostly raw
It's
or lightly
You
cooked.
like it?
I really do. I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess I'm of a
Yeah.
small
Good for you.
community. Good for me, right? It's the one thing
Yeah.
that I like that's actually good for me. So, how about fitness?
How about what?
Fitness. How about exercise? Or what does that look like for you?
Exercise. What do I do for exercise?
Yeah, what do you do on a daily basis? What do you do on a weekly basis? What did you do today? Did you do anything today for fitness?
Well, usually I pick a body part and work on that. I prefer my the thing that I like to do the most is weightlifting, running. But so I choose a body part. I'll either do back and buys, chest and tries, or shoulders and arms, or I'll do legs. I do abs pretty much every day, and I do some form of cardio every day, whether it be biking. Well, I broke my ankle recently, and I hurt my back recently, so I've been biking and doing the Stairmaster mostly, and then the elliptical, but I can't run too much on my ankle yet. So, but running is my love. Like I love to run
Mm.
to do,
So,
to get the cardio in.
of all the muscles on your 206 bones, how many would you say that you're working, to an ideal extent?
Yeah, for sure.
No, how many would you say of all the muscles? I don't know.
Work. Well, I think your workout should be dynamic so that you can work all your muscles, because everything is linked together. So if say, I mean, I had injuries, but it's kind of good that I had injuries because I see how my body works, and I can make sure that I'm not leaving things out, because once one thing is weak, then something else gets weak. So um, everything, try to get everything in there: jumping, stretching, lifting weights to build muscle around your all the little muscles, all the ligaments, all the tendons, all that needs support, so that's, I mean, weightlifting, honestly, the reason why I like weightlifting so much is because weak, like I am kind of small in a way in stature, but I can lift a lot. I'm always impressing everybody. So I just, I think because I was weak for so long, I just like lift a lot of weight. I don't know,
Right.
just me.
Like push yourself to that limit. That's what you like to do, and surprise people and yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, what we've got so far is that you really watch what you eat. You're really conscientious about your exercise and your body. How
Mm.
much of your thinking does, you know, body consciousness, like food input, nutrients, how much like time would you say and thinking do you put into that?
Well, now I have it pretty much down packed with my eating and things. I go food shopping once a week and I buy all the things that I'm going to eat for that week. So I have it set up. I have my berries in the morning. I have fruit for a snack. I have nuts for a snack most of the time. I have vegetables in the afternoon. It's just like I have it all set up in my head. So it's like whatever I know I didn't have last week and that I want to have this week, I do that. So my food isn't much of preparation anymore. But exercise wise, I take probably two 2 to 4 hours a day realistically, because I work out a lot between my clients and things. If you add it all up, I'm working out probably more hours, but when I get like my workout, it's usually like I could probably do it in 2 hours.
And the thinking about your exercise, that doesn't take much time anymore either, because you just know what you want to do. You know what you've done. You have like a system
Well,
down.
well, my thing is I have, and again, it's kind of lucky that I was sick because I have a really good mind body connection. So I am very in tune with my body because I know, like, I had to pinpoint when I felt sick, when I felt something was off with me, so that nothing went too far, you know. And I feel that same connection with my muscles. So when I feel something is lacking, or I feel something is weak, or I know what part of me is sore, I work the next day, or whatever is next. Like if I do legs, then I can't do legs for another day or maybe 2 days. And then, upper body, I can hit more than my legs because there's way more muscles in my top that I can hit.
So,
So
how was this current
it's
week?
just, what do you
Sorry to cut
say?
you off. What were you saying there? What were you were finishing up on something?
Oh, I don't remember. Sorry.
No
Next
problem.
thing.
So, I was gonna say, how was this week? What happened this week? What was this week? Anything fun happened this week?
This week, I think I'm. My big thing that happened to me. I hurt my back on the 4th of July, so I've just been like stretching like a crazy woman all week. Um, but I definitely stretching was a cool thing for me because I never had lower back problems before, and I always like to be in tune with my clients, and a lot of them have lower back problems, and I know how to fix it, but I've never had to deal with it myself, and a lot of the other things that I have. So I have to recover from that, and um and I had to learn how to strengthen to get rid of that pain, and where I had to stretch and how I had to stretch. So it was a cool experience, kind of, but pain in my butt.
So, how much time do you spend in recovery? I've heard you talk about all these injuries you've had and how you have to, it's caused you to be in tune with your body, and it's
Mm-hmm.
caused you to understand how to kind of work into strengthening areas, um, to support, the healing. And how often are you in recovery? How often are you, in minor recoveries and major recoveries? And
Well, for me, surgery's in the mix. So those recoveries, like, it's usually like they take me out for a couple months, and then the recovery time is not just the injury, but strengthening that. So I mean, I was out of for a hernia repair, and that took me a few months, a good 3 months to like really get back into like doing everything. And then I broke my ankle, and that has me out. This is the 4th month. This is the going on the 5th month that I haven't been able to run. Like, really, I ran for maybe 3 miles at a time, but I'm used to running way more. So it's kind of a slow recovery. And so it's just things that you have to be aware of. I wouldn't say that I'm not rehabbing my ankle probably as much as I should, but and I've had the same hamstring injury since college that I'm always nursing. So it's just like stuff that I have to deal with than I feel like I'm recovering from.
so,
Yeah.
how much of your body are you dealing with stuff?
Um say my ankle, my back right now, my shoulder on the one side from my car accident. My hernia, I still have to be cautious that I don't lift too much weight because I feel it sometimes. Not bad. 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Not bad.
A handful.
My knees sometimes bother me too, and my hip. But I go to chiropractor sometimes, and I go and I
Two
stretch
handfuls.
every day, and I exercise every day. You know, it takes a lot of work to be healthy. You know, like you got to dedicate a lot of time to yourself, but it's worth it. You know. Like,
So, how would you describe what you currently do?
as a personal trainer, I
As a
think
personal trainer, as you know, more broadly, you could start with personal trainer.
as what I do, I try to be an example to and living a healthy and productive life. And I I always said I just want to motivate and inspire. Like I just want people doable and it's necessary. So, I mean, if I can do it with all these things that I'm dealing with, you know, and all the things that were against me and are can be against me, then there's no stopping anybody. Like everybody should put the time and effort into themselves. Because my big thing is like total health. And I went through as a teenager, I mean, I was overweight, I was depressed, I had anxiety where I had sleep disorder, like sleeping disorder, I had all things that I was on all kinds of medications for. And when I eat clean and I exercise and I, you know, do all the things that I know I need to do, writing and all that stuff to be healthy and have just a clear mind, better. I'm not on any meds, you know. I don't have anxiety attacks. I sleep at night for the most part, except for I have to get up and pee all the time. Um, I just I just want to be a reflection of health so that people want to know what are you doing, because either I want to look like that, whatever it takes, you know. I want to be like that, I want to look like that, whatever, you know. I want to be
So,
that
but you have been
that
on
light,
meds.
you know.
You have, I mean, I'm getting by implication, you have
I
taken
have what?
medication. You have been on medications. You have taken sleep medications. You have had anxiety attacks.
Mhm. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially when I was on dialysis. I mean, before I was on dialysis even, they started in college and they were really bad, like hyperventilating and just can't control uncontrollable shaking and just you don't know what to do with yourself. Like you have no idea what's going on. It's insane. But then when the doctors identified it, then they just put me on medicine and covered it up. And then I got much more frequent anxiety attacks after I was on the medication that I would have to take the medication for, you know? But I
Mm,
said, once I got my transplant, I'm done with all this sickness. Anything sickness, I was done with it. So, it's, except for the ones, you know, that I need to keep my kidney. I'm
right.
still on. But everything else, no sleeping pills, no anxiety medications, you know, nothing obviously that I needed while I was on dialysis. None of that stuff. But
So now you basically use your body and your body's natural biochemical processes and production to balance out your well-being, your mental well-being and your physical well-being, rather than the cocktail of drugs that you have to like keep on mounting
to
layers
mask
of.
it. It's all masking. It's not helping any. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think. I mean, I know that bodybuilding and exercise has been the only thing that's been a positive outlet for me, and allowed me to get out all the energy from anything. I don't need to be angry or anxious or anything to work out, you know. It's just like a good relief. And it, you know, all these things are cancer fighting, and they fight free radicals, all the good things that you're doing for yourself. And exercise is one of the things, you know. And you hear it all the time. Everything is cancer causing now. What we can do to fight it, we should do it, you know. And as much as we can.
Yeah, as much as we can do. So I want to go back to something that you had said before. You had kind of broken up what you think about your work and how you think about the work that you do into these two kind of basic categories. One was that it's doable, that it's necessary. Now, I want to, for argument's sake, just say, okay, the doable part is unknown, right? I mean, we live in a media infused generation. We live in the information age. People have heard stories time and time again of people doing near the impossible, and they see it done, right? We see people beat the odds and do all that. It's almost an expectation that that's what happens, that people will defy the odds, right? But I'm curious about the argument of it being necessary, because I think that everybody probably thinks that anything is doable. But how do we come to see the things that are, like, you know, hard to do, that are doable? How do we come to see those as necessary?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like you see people overcoming and everything else, what are you seeing? Every day you're seeing more and more people die. You're seeing more and more people get diseases, more and more people getting overweight, you know, being unhappy, more people just on a pile of pills. You're also seeing those things. Those things we don't want to pay attention to, you know. Those things aren't as good of a story, you know. But that's the necessary thing. If you're avoiding doing all these things that are promoting your good health, then you're welcoming all the things that are out to get you, to destroy you. You know what I mean? Those things are very inevitable, like that they're out there, you know. We see them every day. We have them all in our family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so what you're saying is, I mean, I guess if we were to statistically evaluate the people that do these, you know, unimaginable things, that number of people, that percentage is going to be relatively small.
No, I think you're faced with something that's a struggle, that you overcome that struggle. And for those people that you're hearing about these things, it's because it was like a big thing. And you're either going to overcome it or you're going to let it take over you. So when it comes down to it, like, you as a person, like, your primal instincts are going to come out. Like, if you are faced with something that's either going to kill you or you're going to kill it, then who's going to come out on top, you know? And it's hard for somebody like it's hard to, you know, to get to a lot of young people, because they have youth on their side, you know, and they have beauty and thinness a lot of the times and all that stuff on their side. And it's harder to get to those guys if you haven't been through anything, you know. But luckily, not so luckily, I don't know, I was sick and I had to struggle, and I got to see the of, you know, and now I'm just seeking life, you know. I need it. I need to feel healthy all the time. I don't want to see that again. So, I mean, it was beneficial for me to go through it. I think I went off your question. I'm sorry, I don't
No,
remember what
no,
it
it's
was.
no, no. So I mean, I was just kind of taken aback because I got thrown off my interviewer game, I guess, if you'll say, because in church today, the
Mm-hmm.
preaching was about deep calls unto deep, and the gentleman who was preaching wasn't our typical pastor. It was I think he's just one of the elders, and our church has gone through and is going through kind of turmoil because one of the pastors slept with one of the other leaders in not in the congregation, well, in the congregation, but the leadership team, one of the staff, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
up with the staff. Now he had to step down. You know, he's got 4 kids. His wife was part of. You know, she had a ministry, a ladies' ministry. So like, you know, the church is now like surviving that
Yeah.
and connecting to elders and pulling elders together, and like they just had an elders retreat. And I guess this guy who gave the message, I forget his name now. He was the one who led up that elder retreat, and he gave a sermon today that was on deep calls unto deep, and was just saying that, you know, it's basically just what you said. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to come to this point of struggle, and you know, and it's in that struggle that you're going to choose one or the other. You're going to choose to go deep, or you're going to choose to avoid, or to, you know, numb yourself or distract,
Yeah.
or you know, that you're not going to go the deep that you need to
Right.
go in order to really to continue to live and to thrive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's really, it's a spiritual thing that you're ultimately talking about, because
Yeah.
the necessary is like, if you look from a physiological standpoint, you could say, you could make the argument that it's necessary, because when you were talking about, when we were talking about doable
Mm-hmm.
and not doable, you know, like I'm thinking, okay, it's probably a small amount of people that actually do these impossible things. That makes sense, right? It's not, most of the people are not going to do like impossible things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right. And so, you know, what is going to happen to a larger portion of the population is that they're going to become obese. They're going to become drug dependent,
Yeah.
whether it's like acceptable drugs or not acceptable. They're going to eat unhealthily. They're going to, you know, drive their bodies into the ground. You know, both partners are going to work,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, they're going to have unhealthful interactions. You know, this is the more common thing. This is the common stuff of our
It is.
age, of a globalized world,
It,
a westernized world. You know, this is what we experience. You know,
yeah.
and we all joke and we say, oh, you know, it's fine. It's just normal life. You know, New Yorkers are like the biggest case in point of saying, you know, so what? Like, I don't sleep. So what? I eat like crap. So what?
Yeah.
You know, like my body is shot. So
Mm-hmm.
what? You know, and that's almost kind of like the youthful mentality, that what, even if
Yeah.
you're 50 years old, you maintain that youthful mentality and just say, you know, like, so what? But ultimately, there is hopefully like a spiritual awakening where you don't say so what to those kinds of health factors. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of say, you know, something to the effect of "you're worth it" or something like that. I don't know what the, you know, what it would be, but
Oh, worth, because that's one of the things, especially more to my young female clients. I never really say anything about God so much, besides like I'll ask them if they pray, if they're really, down and don't know what else to do, you know what I mean? But I don't, because as I'm supposed to do anything like that. But I always say to people, if you're working out, and you're eating healthy and you're spending so much time on yourself, right? You're going to start to realize how much you're worth. You're not going to want anything or anybody to come in and mess it up, right? So when you start to achieve that health and realize how much you're worth, a bunch of other things come into play. You're not going to let somebody else hurt you. You're not going to want to hurt somebody else because you know how much that person is worth. You know what I mean? Like, you know how hard it is, you know, where it's all just like a humanity thing. You know, it's all a spiritual thing. It's all connected. Fitness, everything. Your mental, your spiritual, it's all connected. And worth is such a big part of it because we all don't feel like we're worth enough to deserve and this good life. So we settle with whatever is given to us or whatever we have to do to get the things that we think we're living for, the money and all those things. But that's not what it is. It's living for each other, and it's living, you know, to love and glorify God. And we're not doing that, ignoring ourselves and not staying in the right mind. And I honestly don't think we're in our right minds if we're pumping ourselves full of chemicals and processed foods and all kinds of things. It can't get us further away from the natural state that we should be in, you know. And it's just it's so deeply connected that it's hard to put into words for me. Sometimes I feel like I can touch on it when I'm writing, but never when I'm speaking, you know.
Yeah. So
But
you had and I kind of intentionally have avoided digging into this until kind of right now. You know, you mentioned being sick, you mentioned
mm,
kidney disease. Um, you know, can you take us down that journey a little bit as it relates to what's happening with you now, how it got you to where you are now? What um, can you give us some insight into your kidney disease and share some of your story?
yeah, I think about that actually. I feel like sometimes, you know, because it feels kind of long ago now because I've changed the way that I lived so much and, you know, things have changed. But that was such a big part of shaping who I am. And I got into fitness way later in my life. At around 14, I kind of started to get interested, but then 16 was really when I like started running and started trying to eat organic, but what I thought was good to eat back then. I mean, I wasn't uh sure about clean eating and stuff like that. Like, and nobody ever taught me those things. So I was just like going off what I thought, you know, whatever. But then when I went to college, um I got really sick. I didn't know that something was wrong with me. I had a migraine and I went to that took me to the hospital. And I don't know, I didn't know what a migraine was. So to me, it was I had my head was pounding and I couldn't see and everything was very loud to me and I was throwing up and I had really bad pain in my back. And when I went to the hospital the first time, they said, "You have pneumonia." And I said, "Really?" Because my lower back hurts me a lot. And they said, "You have pneumonia," and they sent me home. And then in between then, you know, my my best friend Jennifer thought that something was wrong because she said, "You're always nauseous and you're always throwing up." I said, "I just have a weak stomach, I guess." Like nothing was sitting in my stomach right, you know. And then I had another migraine thing, but this time one of my dorm mates found me in the bathroom, in and out of consciousness, and they called an ambulance. And I went in, and the doctor said after I was in there for 6 days, and well, even in the emergency room though, he said, "Do you?" the emergency room doctor said, "Do you know that you have kidney problems?" And I said no. And he left the room. And then it was just like a lot of hustle and bustle, and I was there doing testing and going through all these things. And then on the last day, they came in and they told me, "All right, we did all the testing. You have 16% of your kidneys functioning. I give you about 6 months before you have to make a decision. You're either going to die, you're going to get a transplant, or you're going to go on dialysis." And I said, me being dumb and not really knowing what any of those things really meant, I said, "Well, I'm going to take my chances. I feel okay. I'm going to go and try to finish school. I have 2 years left, and I just want to finish school." And I was able to do that for 2 years. I mean, 2 years I stayed off dialysis. I was sick, but I didn't feel like I really had to get on it. But then I went down to Nicole, our sister's house, and I don't even remember, but I ended up in the hospital again, and they said you only have 2% of your kidneys functioning, and I had to get on dialysis then. Prior to that, though, I guess I knew it was coming because I had to have that a catheter put in my stomach, and that was like the start of my surgeries. So I had that put in, and then I started dialysis, and I was on that kind of dialysis for 2 years. And that one, 4 times a day, I had to do exchanges for 20 to 30 minutes where I would have a bag of solution that would go into my peritoneal cavity, and my blood would go through that, and it would clean out my blood, and then every would drain out that stuff, and it would look like urine. It was just like a artificial kidney, pretty much. I did that for 2.5 years, but it wasn't working correctly, so I was getting really sick still. And when I went to the hospital, my creatinine got up to a 23, and shouldn't be over a 1. So that just means your creatinine is just your blood toxicity. So I was very toxic, very sick. So then they put me on hemodialysis, which is a different beast. You feel better. You're out of the hospital, I guess, more. But you are exhausted. I mean, you have to deal with life in a whole other way when you're on dialysis. There's levels of nauseousness, but it's never a time where you're nauseous. And then there's levels of tiredness, but there's never a time where you don't feel like completely exhausted. And different, cramping, just things that you have to be aware of for them to do meds and stuff like that. But so anyway, I was on that for 4 years, and then I got the transplant. 2015.
Yeah, I remember being in kind of the same state as you, thinking the way you did, like when the kidney disease was coming down the pipe, thinking that, oh, it's, I don't know, it's a misread, or, like it'll bounce back or something like that. It's that classic thing, like this kind of stuff doesn't happen to us, like, what, like we're Hernandez's, we're tough, like we don't get kidney disease, and then like,
what's wrong with you?
And then, wow, like, was it 8 years?
I was on dialysis for 6 years. I was sick for 8. Yeah.
Sick for 8 years. Sick. So 8 years from when you found out there was 16% kidney function. So you got a
Sick.
transplant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
My whole 20s,
So
pretty much, sick.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
I just want to take a praise break real fast though, because I pray, like my prayer time is always starts out with so much gratitude because man, like I was so sick. Like I don't know if that translates like to people that haven't experienced it, but like sorry. I was just like sick in so many ways, You're just like sometimes you're just like, I don't know, man, if I can do it again today,
right.
And then
Like you
so
did it
that's
that one
why,
time.
huh?
No, go ahead.
So yeah, there would be times where I would just pray before I went to sleep, and I was just like, man, if I don't wake up in the morning, just forgive me for everything that I've done, and I prayed, nobody's too sad, because it was rough. But that's why I am where I am today, though. Because in college, before I got really sick, I was a cheerleader and I trained the cheerleaders, and everybody would say, "You should be a trainer." And I was like, you know what? I should be a trainer. Like, I love this. Like, this is awesome. Just like kick people's butts all day and like show them, that this can be fun and this is hard and we can sweat together. You know what I mean? And we could just like kicked our butts. Like we could just look back and look at the sweat pile on the floor and say, we kicked their butt. You know what I mean? We kicked the workout's butt. It's just like, it's part of that struggle thing, like you're proud of what you did, like how much effort and work you put into this thing, and you accomplished it. It's just like, why not have that every day? Like overcome something, trying to overcome that thing every day. It's just like an awesome outlet. But anyway, so then I always told my transplant doctors that after I would get a transplant, I wanted to be a personal trainer. And every time I went back, they were like, "Are you a trainer yet?" I was like, "Not yet. I'm taking the test." So now I am, and I accomplished that goal. So here, just like I, this is where I wanted to be before I got sick, kind of. But then after I got sick, I felt like I had something to prove. Like I really need to do this fitness thing. I really need to like be this strong, fit chick that is just like showing people that healthy is the way to be. So
Mm. So how would you say, what are the lessons that you've learned? How would you say that you're different from who you were before? I mean, I guess implied in the question is how also would you say you were similar to who you were before?
um I mean, you're always kind of the same person because of the foundation that you were brought up on, So I've always been very loving and dedicated, I think, but I think that I never knew how to express those things or have, I don't know how to explain it, but
I
um,
think maybe you're saying like how to have the channel,
yeah.
what the direct line of those strengths that you have
Hmm.
should be in terms of like manifesting as an outcome. Like where should the target be? You
Yeah.
have, it's kind of like having, being young and having unbridled energy, but
Right.
what should you direct your energies towards? What should you
Right.
direct your talents towards? What should you direct your passion towards?
Right. And because I am sensitive in things and I have a strong foundation and everything, but at the same time, growing up the way that I did and like how I perceived life and how I what I got out of my childhood and everything put me in a very like self-destructive place for a lot of years, you know. So this all healed me of that, honestly. Like going through this was something that I felt like was good for my healing, you know, in every aspect. Like I didn't just get a kidney, like I got a whole makeover. And I think also something that helped me was all the encouragement that I received, you know, because it's just like, man, all these people are pouring into me. Let me pour out, you know, like I'm overflow. I mean, I have an overflow of all this love that I've been given through this whole thing, you know, and now, like, I'm not harnessing all this energy, all this negative energy, but now I'm filled with love and I'm able to pour out all that love, you know, all the things that were inside of me, but I just didn't know how to get out, you know. So I have still the same foundation of the things that, uh, you know, the good things that our grandparents all taught us, you know, and loving people and being respectful and all that stuff. Like I have a great foundation, but now I just have, yeah, just letting an outlet to reach more people, and I'm not so concentrated on myself as I am. I mean, I do focus on myself because it's important, but I'm able to influence other people now. So now I just, yeah, I just have a target, you know.
I'm not necessarily looking, or I don't think necessarily the listeners are looking for, all the types of different people that you may encounter when that you're working with. But I guess I do have some questions around what kinds of people experience success that you work with, what kinds of people don't experience success, and what is the work like? Also, I guess maybe a preliminary question is, what is the work like? Working with people. How do you approach it? Um, is everybody different? Is there a basic pathway to building a relationship with somebody, building a trusting relationship? Um,
Yeah.
you know, what,
Um, go
what's it
ahead.
like to build a relationship with somebody, and then how do you take them down the path of helpfulness and kind of seeing that necessary component to it that we were talking about, so that
Mhm.
they take out of it what they should take out of it, that, like a lifelong journey of valuing yourself.
Yeah.
um how do you kind of like, and some people may take to it quickly, some people may take a lot longer. How do you work with the people that take to it quickly, work a little different with the people that are taking longer? What kinds of things do you see? I'm interested in those kinds of things. I think listeners will be interested in those kinds of things. We've hit on some big topics today as far as struggle. And before we come to, towards the close of our time together, I kind of want to dig into like your experience with other people.
Mhm. I love my clients. I mean, every time I meet somebody new, it's exciting and scary and all those things because you have to get this person to trust you, you know? Like you're about to see them at a very vulnerable spot, you know. They're not going to be able to do some things. So a lot of them are overweight, a lot of them are injured, you know. A lot of them are unsure of you, you know. I'm a little muscular tattooed chick, you know, and I look not like the most approachable sometimes, you know. But I just give everybody the same toothy smile that you know, and I'm just like, yo, it's all good. Like get in here, you know, be loved. And then they grasp to me, you know, then they hold on to what I'm trying to teach them, you know, and they try what I give them and at least try. You know, most of them say, oh, you know, I'll always try it, you know. But a lot of people are skeptical in the beginning. People that say they've tried every diet and they've tried all these things, and I always talk my mom's ear off about my clients because everybody is so different and interesting. But I do have some like young fit girls, but for the most part, I have like ladies in their 50s or stuff like that, or even older. I have some older clients. I have some in their 30s, a lot of moms trying to lose weight, or just get in shape. The one person that popped into my head when you said that was Carla, my one client, Carla. And when I first met her, she looked at me like, girl, please, what are you gonna do for me? Because she's like, she used to be a cheerleader, and she's just been, after her having kids, she's just been heavy ever since. And she was like, whatever, like, I do. She came into the gym and she worked out, but she never saw any results. And every time, I mean, now she's like, love you, Bethany, because like now she went from like a size 16 or something like that to a size, I think she's in a 4 or 5 now,
Wow.
and she's like, yeah. And she's like, my husband can't get enough of me, and that's another thing I ask my clients. I'm like, do you see any differences, any changes yet? They're like, well, in my energy and stuff, but I don't. I'm like, well, there's your husband, and they're like, yeah, they say. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're always your worst critic. But I appreciate everybody's work hard, you know what I mean, whatever it is for them. So I have some people that have like a ton of different injuries. There's this woman, Miriam, that came to me. This lady had a bad back, bad knees, bad hips, and a bad shoulder. Oh, and bad elbows. And she was like, all right, I want to get in shape. I'm like, oh, great. What am I going to do for her? And she couldn't do anything when I first started with her. We had to start from like the bare minimum. And now she's like, go grab me those 15s. Like, these 10s are too light. And she still has like some range of motion and issues in her shoulders and everything, but she's doing everything like everybody else. Squats, abs, all that stuff. Like, the only thing she can't hit so much is shoulders, but she's doing everything. And she's always like, every time she sees me, even when I'm not with her, she tells me what she does, and she's just like, guess what I just did. And I just have a bunch of people. I mean, ramble off all my clients to you because I love them all, because they all just, I talk to them sometimes about like the first time we met and everything, because it's so crazy from your first time you're there to like how much that you've accomplished, even if it's not weight loss, even if it's just like your confidence level. I just want to talk about one more client. Her name is Laura. And she came in and I was like, well, what are your goals? Like, what, like, even a short-term goal, just like, what's something that you want to see? And she was like, I don't care. I just want to be healthy. I just want to be healthier. And she came up to me a couple months back and she was like, my goals changed. She was like, I'm healthier, but like I want more. She was like, every time I come in here you challenge me, and every time like challenge, or I get mad at myself if I can't do it, but every time I'm getting better. And she's like, I see the difference. And I said, I see the difference not only in your physical. She went from a size I think a 49-inch waist to a 39-inch waist in the time that I've been with her. And I said, not just that, this is the last time that I just worked with her. Actually, I told her this, and I was like, it's even better than seeing your physical results is the fact that you're coming in here like with your head held high and you're so confident now, and you're just like, come on, Bethany, what's next? You know what I mean? And before it was just like, all right, now do this. And she's like, oh my God, what do I have to do now? So it's just like, it's great to see the transition in these people, to like, to hunger that more, to just like, I have a hunger for this, like, to be better, to just be the better version of themselves, so that's what I deal with every day, and I get paid for it. Rocks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of touches on some of the things you were talking about before when you were saying that when you work towards, when you do the work indicative of self-worth and self-valuation, that it kind of it builds and it builds and it builds until you're on this, you go through this transition where your mindset changes about what's acceptable to you and what's not acceptable.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and how, you kind of, you come into your own as a force almost, as like your true humanity, your personality,
Hmm.
your exuberance, your confidence.
Yeah,
You're working to, not in an artificial way, in a very real way, in like
exactly.
one of the most organic ways you possibly can, by treating
Hmm.
your body right, by like, and it kind of does start, I guess, from your body in a lot of ways, and you know so and I think what also kind of took me about, as you explained about your clients, and that was just a beautiful series of moments when you shared about those clients, was just the labor involved and the consistency and the repetition and the stick to itiveness, and you know those classic ideals that it's good to hear about, it's good to see you doing, it's good to see happening in an instant society, that I know myself, I want the quick fix, I want
Right.
things now, I want, we live in a digital age and I can drum up any information I want, but information is not the thing.
Yeah.
Information is not assimilation. Information is not, you being a, a part of the wholeness, of the wellness of, it's just, and that's what we see. We see, you see people digging into myself, digging into self-help kind of literature, or even if it's not strictly self-help, when we look at when we read, magazines like Entrepreneur,
Yeah.
or you know when we read biographies about people that are doing things really well, or listen to
Mhm.
well-known podcasts like How I Built This through
Yeah.
NPR. It's all things that we feel like we're getting connected. Even sermons, which are, and I think that all of these things are probably, pretty important ingredients to
Right.
perhaps staying on the path, but it's not the path. It's only, like light posts,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like, landmarks, and like motivational points, but it's not the work.
Right.
It's not like the day to
Yeah.
day. So, um, something I'm trying to like write down this question. I don't quite know how to ask this question. You said that the disease was a gift. Um, kidney disease was a gift to you, and I wonder about the difference between the gift of the disease. Like, what if you never had the transplant? What if you never got well? There would still be a certain sense of gift in the struggle and in
Yeah.
having to, define yourself. But I just had some, curiosity to hear your remarks on how the gift, what the gift was to you as you experienced it before the transplant. And I I remember some very dark days.
Yeah.
But I still think that there was a sense of gift because you knew that you were unique. You knew that you had something to bear that, most people do not have to bear.
Hmm.
And so, there was a sense of gifting there. But um and then I guess, how did that compare to, just receiving the transplant the day of the call, like after, when you were well, and like, and that wasn't an overnight thing either. There was a progression
Oh,
towards wellness, and you even talked about today that it's still ongoing. That the wellness is, it's a constant attentiveness to
mm-hmm.
your body and to making adjustments where they need to be made. But can you just share some of the giftings that have maybe you've received and intuited through this whole process?
Yeah. Well, the scripture that came to mind when you were talking about it was like the thorn in my flesh, and when Paul was saying that, that you don't. The thing is that you don't want things to be. A lot of times we do just want things to be taken away, you know, rather not deal with it. But in all that time, I found where my strength really was. And I feel like my gift was really life every day. And it's not just like my life wasn't pleasant, you know what I mean? But it was the fact that I was able to do this thing again, And in that I learned how strong I really was. And in that I learned how what was really important and what things that you had to what I should put first and what things didn't really matter. And um, that's why I feel like it was a blessing for me to have gone through it. Besides the kidney, I mean, even people would always say, "Oh, people used to tell me like you'll be healed of it and everything," and I said, I don't necessarily care if I do. If I live or die, I've realized that God is still good. And same thing. I mean, this life is still worth living every day, and people are still worth loving. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, it sucked kind of while I was going through it, but the good thing is that I was given the chance to meet people that I never would have been able to meet, to reach people that I never would have been able to reach, and to learn things that I never would have been able to learn. So the gift, when they say Don Vita or Davita, and they say to gift life, it's really not just the kidney. It's like this is the second chance that you have at a healthy life, but you learn in the process what life it really is, what's really worth living for. And, you've struggled through this thing to get to this life that is worth living. And what are you going to do with it? So it was just the whole process was the whole process should be considered a gift, not just the organ.
So,
Well,
do you worry about a failed kidney?
um, worry about rejection or a failed kidney. I try not to think about my kidney failing, but I do. I mean, if I feel nauseous or anything, the first thing I think of is, oh no, my kidney, or it's just, I guess it's always in the back of my head. I don't think in a negative way he's going to do, I just know that it's something that also because I'm so young, I received the transplant when I was young and they're not supposed to last a lifetime. I know it's something that I'll probably have to deal with again. And I know that if I don't tend to this kidney that it won't last very long. But I'm not like constantly thinking something bad like about it failing or anything. I don't know. I guess
Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, I guess it is always in my head. Um because I have to take pills 2 times a day. So you're thinking about it then. And I always drink a lot of water thinking about it then. I guess you think about it all the time. thinking about protecting this thing, you know. I guess I just been thinking about it so much that you just like, it just becomes part of your, your day or your rituals or whatever.
Part of your story,
Yeah.
part of who you are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think about a couple of things. I think about uh, a song by Michael Card that was based on, you know, John's revelation, and that he will be known by the scars.
Mm-hmm.
That even in heaven, Jesus will bear the scars of his humanity, or
Mm-hmm.
that he received in his humanity. And another, Christian, when I first became a Christian in Long Island, John, his last name is McDonald. I think his first name was John. I can't remember, but he said, like, we all walk with a limp.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
True.
um, so and that's just real life.
Yeah.
That's just real life. I mean, it's you don't escape the process. You don't escape the things that you've been through. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
you retain the story and the scars and the wounds and the learning and the growth, and you retain all of those things from one transplant to another.
Yeah.
Um, so, what's next? What are you doing now, I
What's
guess,
next?
and what's next?
Well, I have been in the past 2 days thinking about that a lot, actually. And I love personal training, but I think I'm more being pulled in the nutrition direction. So I'm thinking about going back to school and becoming a nutritionist and trying to reach people more in that way. Because exercise is important for sure. And I think that people should play at least 30 minutes a day for sure. But I think really getting people aware of how poorly they're treating their bodies is much more important. And I want to reach more people in that way. So I think I'm going to set a new goal. I've reached this one. I kind of kicked butt at this one. So I'm going to set a new one and try to kick butt that way and see how many more people I can reach. It's the next thing. It's all about other people. It's all about getting that good word out there and getting people to live happier, healthier lives. That's always next. That's always what's next.
So, what's the web address for your blog?
Um, oh no. It's oh no. I forget the hold on 1 second. Oh, it's Inspire Resilience at WordPress.com.
Inspire Resilience at WordPress.com.
Yeah.
And how can listeners get a hold of you?
Through email, I have an email, cftbethanyb@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram, although I'm not very active on social media. But I can be if if people try to reach out to me that way. I'll have a pop up on my phone. But email and Instagram and WordPress, I guess, would be my three go tos. I am on Facebook too, but I'm really never on Facebook.
So, CBT Bethany B. Hernandez at gmail.com.
That's one email, and then I have my work email is cftbethanyb@gmail.com.
Oh, CFT. I said CBT. Okay. CFT Bethany B. Hernandez at gmail.com. What?
Not Hernandez. It's just
Oh,
CFT BethanyB@gmail.com. You're
Oh,
thinking of
okay.
my other email that
I'm
you.
thinking of your email. Yeah. So that's how my brain works. I get
Yeah.
things twisted up,
Get
and
out of
they
brain
just get tied
mode.
together, and they get inextricably tied together. They can never be pulled apart again.
Yeah.
The way that I first think about something is the way that I like will always
That's
think
what it
about
is. Yeah. All right, Grandpa.
it. Yes. All right. Well, it's been a blast. I've learned some new things. I wanted to interview you as the first of this series of podcasts, whatever they will be, because you truly inspire me, and
Oh.
that is a reality. That is a truth, and I think it's a beautiful thing what you do with yourself, and how your motivation truly is other people, and so continuing that good work, and
Thank you.
we will. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you in this new vein that you're going to pursue in nutrition, and then I'm sure that will not be the last pursuit that you will carry forward through onto the end. So, any last words?
Well, thank you for saying those nice things about me. I love when you say I inspire you because you're like the man to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. But no, thank you for allowing me to share. And I hope this reaches somebody. That's it.
All right. So that's us signing off. I don't know what we're calling this yet. I have to confess, but this will sign off that we actually have when this is produced. And so that's it for us. This is Matt Hernandez from Memphis, Tennessee, and
Bethany Hernandez from Newtown, Pennsylvania.
and this is one for the record books.
All
Take care.
right.